Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of Beyond Days of the Reef, where we will learn more about the role of scuba diving in conducting research in Moorea. My dive buddy Dan and I will flipper through our research experiments with you so you can explore what it's like to scuba dive in order to investigate the ocean. In the first few parts of my 7 weeks in Moorea, I helped my graduate student Kelly Spear with coral surveys to see how many corals on Moorea had bleached and the percent mortality or death rate of these corals within the lagoon. This can help us better understand how ocean warming events and bleaching can impact coral reef ecosystems in the long term. Also, we collected tiles that had been down 30 feet on the seafloor for several months and counted how many baby corals had grown on the tiles during that time period. This process of growing on the tiles is called coral recruitment, and you can see a little baby coral in the bottom right photo. We did this to see how recruitment varies throughout the year. For my own experiment, I counted and took measurements of 2 coral species, Acropora and Poecilopora, along a transect. Have you ever heard of a transect? A transect is basically a long measuring tape that you bring with you underwater, and you generally take measurements along the transect line. I only measured coral recruits and juveniles within a particular size range. From this, we gain more information on the size frequency distributions of these corals. This experiment was really special for me because during the school year, I used computer programs to measure the same 2 species of corals, and going out in the field and seeing them in person really changed my perspective. For example, it is like studying a subject in school by reading a textbook, but then being able to go outside and find what you were learning about in the wild. Have you ever experienced learning something in school and then seen it in person on a field trip? It turns out seeing corals in person like this is really helpful for a visual learner like me. Next, you'll hear from Dan about his experiments in Moorea.
Hi guys, it's me, Dan again. For my experiment, I researched how corals on a coral reef are impacted by fish predation and too many nutrients. From past experiments, we have found that too many nutrients harm corals and help algae take over on a coral reef. Fish eating these corals also hurts corals just as you'd expect, because the corals are directly losing pieces of themselves when they are eaten. What we tested was what happens when both harmful things happen to the coral at the same time, and is the effect of that greater than the effect of individual harmful thing happening alone? What do you think would happen? Keep thinking and we'll figure out in just a second. The top left photo is of a parrotfish, a common coral reef fish that eats corals. The photo below that is a coral from our experiment, and this is what it looked like after it was bitten. The 2 photos to the right of that are of the same coral, before and after it was exposed to too many nutrients. The white part of the coral is what we call bleached, and this is very unhealthy for a coral, and it will most likely die. In the experiment, we measured corals based off of their weight change, their health, and some other health measurements. We found that when corals are exposed to both harmful things at once, they grow much slower and are generally less healthy. Pretty cool, right? The photo on the far right is of me, underwater, surveying the corals in the experiment. I'm writing on underwater paper, a special kind of paper that allows scientists to write underwater with a normal pencil. What do you think you would write if you could draw underwater? Here are some other photos taken during different experiments on coral reefs in Moorea. Can you see the yellow line going towards the camera in the top left photo? That's a transect tape, just like the ones Ali mentioned earlier. The photo on the right of that shows just how we measure corals. We use a seamstress tape to get the length, width, and height of the coral. In the bottom middle photo, I am holding up a bunch of transect tapes that we're about to use underwater. Behind me are a bunch of corals, and we're about to survey them. One of the cool things we counted underwater, in addition to corals, was snails that eat the corals. One day, while swimming back to our boat underwater, I decided to write SNAIL on the bottom of our boat just for fun. And it was also featured in the snail video I made about Moorea. To see some really cool videos of Moorea, including my snail video, and learn more about how valuable it is to do research as an undergraduate, check out the videos linked. Best fishes, and we'll see you next time on Submersible Sunday.